Hello, beloveds, and welcome. Welcome to the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living's virtual sanctuary. Welcome, Facebook friends, and welcome, YouTubers. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living, where we are love in action, transforming lives and transforming communities. My name is Paul Cuffey, and I'm a practitioner here at the center. And I would like to invite you to share with us your comments by typing something into the feed. Tell us how you're doing. Tell us what's going on in your life. Say hello to your friends. And if you're new here, click the link in the description banner on your feed and find new ways that you can become engaged in our center. This month's theme is Querencia. And as such, we have two questions that we'd like to share with you that you may wish to type your answers into the feed, letting us know, firstly, where are the places you feel safe and strong in your life? And what are the ways you can locate a space of Querencia within? Please join us in this conversation we'll be having while the service progresses by typing your answers into the feed. It's a wonderful way to connect with your friends and to feel more engaged in the community of our virtual sanctuary. As part of our tradition here at the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living, we have a candle lighting ceremony at the top of each service. And today's candle is going to be lit, acknowledging creativity and acknowledging that within each of us is the spark of the divine that is creative, that does show us new and exciting ways to experience life as it unfolds, especially in this strange time where things just aren't the way they used to be. So type into the feed how you have become more creative, whether it be through prayer, meditation, or any way you see fit. That's my prayer for you, that you may be ever more inspired and ever more engaged in creativity. And so it is.
Good morning. My name is Jeff McNutt. I'm Community Director and Practitioner here at Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. Today's service revolves around the Spanish word Querencia. And as I did a little studying, Amani was going to speak around the nature of the word in how it means a safe place, finding your happy place. As I dug a little deeper too, it also traces back and connects with the word desire. And etymologically, desire means des ires, or of the stars. People have said for years, I'll look to the heavens for comfort, or what is written in the stars for me. That comes from desire and Querencia. So today's about finding that safe space. So let's take this into prayer. I know that I am connected to something larger and greater than me. Scientists studying it have called it the God particle. I know for me it's that point of attachment where I'm connected as a physical manifestation of spirit. Come here to have a good time. And as I know that to be true for me, I'm enlightened by the knowledge that it's true for each and every person that I come into contact with, each and every animal, each and every plant. They've been given mass by this God particle, and from where it came is where I belong. It is my Querencia. And so I know that everything that transpires here today is originated from that beautiful union of spirit and form. Thich Nhat Hanh taking this back into the notion of safety, Thich Nhat Hanh said the following: if we want to be safe, we have to build safety. What can we build to be safe? Not a fortress, not bombs or airplanes. The United States of America is very powerful in terms of armies and weapons, but the people living in America do not feel safe. Although he wrote this some time ago, it's very apropos for what we're dealing with today. He says, many people are thinking of safety in terms of weapons and armies, but even with a powerful army and a stock of weapons, there are moments when the American people feel very frightened, very vulnerable. So there must be some other kind of practice that we can take refuge in. Another way to be safe. We can learn to build safety with our in-breath and our out-breath, with our steps, with the way we react or act, with a smile or a word, with our effort to restore communication. We cannot feel safe with the person who lives with us if we cannot communicate with him or her. You cannot feel safe when the other person does not look at you with sympathy, when you are not capable of looking at him or her with compassion. Safety can be built with your way of looking, with your way of smiling, with your way of walking. It can build confidence. Show the other person that you are truly not harmful, that he is safe in your presence, in the way you think, in the way you breathe, smile, and walk. Everything you do is peaceful. So by expressing your peace, your compassion, the other person feels very safe. And when the other person feels safe, you are safe. Safety is not an individual matter. A country cannot be safe if it doesn't do something to help other countries feel safe too. We cannot just think of our own safety, because safety is not an individual matter. We have to think of the safety of other groups of people, of other nations too. If the United States wants to have safety, then they have to take care of the safety of the people of other nations. Safety is not an individual matter. So it is. Some of the other work that my wife and I do revolves around assisting people either in active addiction or families of people who are in active addiction. And a lot of this does revolve around creating safe space. Safe space to uncover behaviors that led to a feeling of not being safe and of destruction, and rebuilding those with different and more positive and safe behaviors. The work that's done around that revolves generally around people, places, and things. So I wanted to do a short meditation with you in helping you find this safe place and this happy place. So let's begin with things. Take a deep breath in and let it out. And call vividly into your mind's eye those things in your life that help you feel safe. Maybe it's a special piece of clothing or a particular color that you wear that makes you feel safe. Picture yourself wearing that now. Maybe it's a teddy bear or a totem or just stuff in your house that you pull close or you hold on to when you're needing to feel safe. Feel yourself holding that now. Take an inventory of the things in your life that make you feel safe. Let's build Querencia around places. Where are the places that you go to that make you feel confident and loved and safe? Maybe it's a little nook in your house that you curl up in. Maybe there's some other room. Maybe you walk to a park and sit under a tree and ground yourself to the earth and feel your querencia, feel your connection. Maybe you're able to create your happy place in your mind through some fantastical trip that you go on. Call vividly into your mind the places that make you feel protected and happy. And finally, the people. Who are the people either in your life now or have been in your life in the past? Or maybe there's people that you recognize that you want to call forth into your life. Picture their faces. Picture yourself out of social isolation, able to hug and hold hands and high five. The things, the places, and the people. Querencia, you are safe.
In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's relief. From a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find love, I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's relief. From a world filled with chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that can never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find myself. I find love, I find myself.
Hi, my name's Maddie Suarez, and I'm a practitioner here at Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome to our virtual sanctuary. We're so glad that you're here today. It's awesome for you to join us. Thank you so much for being here today. I am here to share some amazing stuff happening here at the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. A couple things. Classes some classes are going on right now, and we have classes that start at different times. And so if you're interested in a class, please check out our website so that you can keep up to date on what's coming up in the future. I think prac studies are starting this year too. Wow, okay, sign up for that. It's amazing. If you want to talk about it, you can talk about it to me and I can give you some information since I just became a practitioner. Spirit groups are going on now. Super exciting. We have several going on. And spirit groups are something that happen in waves. So we have a group of them going and then they end and then another group starts. If you're interested in leading a spirit group, then you can go onto the website and find out some information there, abqcsl.org. Also, you could reach out to Krista Keller. I know that she is kind of the lead on that kind of thing. So that's available. And also Lisa Taj, who's our office goddess. She's also someone you can reach out to around spirit groups. But it's a time to come together in community with other members and maybe go over a book or different other things. So it's a great resource for you. It's available. Spirit Calling. Is everybody signed up for Spirit Calling? It's like the coolest thing ever. Spirit Calling is getting a phone call every morning that tells you something wonderful. And it could be a story or something from a book or just something to focus on that day. And it comes every single day and even on the weekends. And it's just a wonderful thing to connect just with your spirituality. It also gives you a text in the evening. Actually, I think you can sign up for a no text or a yes text or a call or no call, however you want. And it's just going to remind you again in the evening just what you're working on that day and what to focus on. It just keeps you kind of spiritually connected, and it's a great thing to have. I love it. I love that my phone rings every day because it doesn't always ring. So it's a good resource. Have you checked out the blog? We have a blog. I know, we have a blog. And you go to the website somewhere, and there's a blog information there. If you read the blog and check it out, please click like on there because that helps us get out there more. So that's another resource that we have available. Another thing we have going on constantly is Heart, Mind, Spirit Recovery Group. And that is on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. And Clarissa Crow is the person to reach out to in regard to that. And that's ongoing all the time. So that's a great resource as well. If you aren't already getting the newsletter, you want to sign up to get that. That's on the website too. And the newsletter is something that comes out every week. And it gives you information on what's happening at the center. It tells you about the topic on Sunday. It tells you about upcoming classes and spirit groups. Just a lot of really good information that's there. And what it has every week too are 2 discussion questions that Reverend Amani, who is our senior minister here at the center, that she puts in for discussion questions about the topic. If you want to talk about what you feel on the discussion questions, you can put it in the chat right now. That's available to you. I'm going to go over them right now so then you'll know what they are without having to look at the newsletter. And you can put that information in the chat and tell us what you think. So the first one is, where are the places you feel safe and strong in your life? Where are the places you feel safe and strong in your life? When I think about that, the first thing that comes to mind are my friends. My friends ground me in life. I don't have a lot of family, and what I have is not local, although that doesn't really matter now, does it? Because we're all staying at home a lot. But for me, my safety and my strength comes a lot from my friendships, that I can call somebody anytime and reach out. That's really important. And the other one is my home. Like, I love my house. I love my house more now than ever, I think, because I'm home all the time. And I just feel safe here. It makes me feel grounded, and I have my stuff around me, and I like the way that feels. So that's how I would answer that first question. The second question is, what are ways you can locate a space of Querencia within? And Reverend Amani is going to define Querencia in her talk today. But in a brief sense, it's kind of to me like a safe space. That's what it means to me. And how many people have dogs? How many of you have dogs? How many people wish that fireworks would only happen, well, not at all, or only happen one time a year? I'm on that bandwagon because my dog really has issues with fireworks and a lot of stress around it. And so what do I do to make her feel safe during that time, to have her Querencia? I put her in her thunder shirt, and I give her like an all-natural calming tab that makes her calm down, and I reassure her that she's going to be okay and she's going to be safe, because that's really important for her and for me all the time. So that's something that came to mind when I read that question. So think about what comes to mind when you read those questions or when you hear that, and put it in the chat. We'd love to hear what you have to say. So share that information with us. Around that, like, this place that we're building for you, this virtual sanctuary, is a place of safety, and it's a place of community, and it's a place to feel your strength, because in times like these especially, that's what we need. And to keep this going, we're supported by you, and we thank you so much for all your support that you give us, for the donations that are given to us, and we really appreciate it. And there's a couple different ways that you can give. One is text to give, and that phone number should be on the screen below what I'm saying, most likely. And texting to give is something as easy as just giving a one-time gift, or you can set up a recurring gift on there, which would be awesome, because if we know how much money we've got to work with every month, it just puts us in a better position. The second way you can give is going on abqcsl.org and clicking on the donate button. And again, you can do a one-time gift on there, or however you want to do it, and you can set up recurring gifts, which is something that we would really appreciate, and we thank you so much in advance for that. It really makes everything keep going here, and make sure the center is still here, and all the things that we have available for you can keep on going. So thank you so much for that.
Good morning, my spiritual community. I'm Mary Diaguero. I'm a practitioner here at Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living, and I'm also the contact person for our community partner, Inez Elementary School. So in the past, our community has donated food to Inez on a monthly basis, but we're not doing that now during the pandemic. So they have suggested other ways that we can support them. So in our email newsletter, there's going to be a list of school supplies that you can purchase. And you can also buy gift cards of any amount, dollar amount, and that will help support families in need. So what do you do with those things once you purchase them? Well, we're going to have a drive-through right through here in front of our center, between the Labyrinth building and the main building, on August 5th and August 8th, And the dates and times will be in our email newsletter. So we ask you just to drive through, and you don't have to get out of the car, and we'll take your purchases, and thank you. And we ask you to have your masks on. So that will be that way of giving. So another way is Inez Elementary School has a site on Amazon with a list of school supplies. And you can check that out, and if you want to, you can order supplies there, and they will be sent directly to the school. Or you can just check out the site and get ideas for supplies, and then purchase them on your own at Target or wherever you do your purchases. So thank you in advance for however you choose to support our community school. And that's it. Have a great day.
And please now join with me in saying the abundance affirmation written by Paul Cuffey. I give from my heart because I am a part of an interdependent and spirited community, a community of love and of compassion and care. I give generously and faithfully and fully aware I am love in action. And I am creating a world that works for everyone. Ashe, Aho, Iacs, Amen, And so it is.
Hello world, it's nice to meet you. I've been waiting for this moment to come my whole life. Hello world, the past is over. It's time for us to come together and make the future right. I had an epiphany one night, looking at the endless dark blue sky. The world is ours. The world is ours. 7 billion stars. We are, we are, we are, we are, we are, we are, we are. The world is ours. Hello world, the sun is rising. It doesn't matter who you are, the sun still sets the same. Hello world, undivided. Doesn't matter win or lose, it's how you play the game. The world is ours. The world is ours. 7 billion stars. We are, 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 we are. It is yours. From the sky to the sea, to the air that we breathe, from the depths of the earth to the stars, the world is ours, all ours. The world is ours, all ours. We are, 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 we are. The world is ours. 7 billion stars. We are, 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 we are. The world is ours.
The world is ours. And you know, there's so much more that is ours. And I want to share with you this theme we're going to be spending some time working with in August around the word Querencia, which is actually a metaphysical concept in the Spanish language. The term comes from the Spanish verb querer, which means to desire. In bullfighting, a wounded bull may stake out his querencia, and it's a certain part of the bull ring where he feels strong and safe. From author Barry Lopez, in Spanish, querencia describes a place where one feels safe, a place from which one's strength of character is drawn, a place where one feels at home. From John Jeremiah Sullivan, who defines querencia as an untranslatable Spanish word that means something like the place where you are your most authentic self. Other definitions include a place in which we know exactly who we are, the place from which we speak our deepest beliefs. It's a safe haven, a lair, or sanctuary. And Tara Brach, a Buddhist teacher who also fell in love with this word and this concept much like I have, she says it is believed that in the midst of a fight, a bull can find his own area of safety in the arena. There he can reclaim his strength and power, This place and interstate are called his Querencia. As long as the bull remains engaged and reactive, the matador is in charge. Yet, when he finds his Querencia, he gathers his strength and loses his fear. And from the matador's perspective, at this point, the bull is truly dangerous, for he has tapped into his power. And I don't want to spend a bunch of time on, the ills of bullfighting, but this metaphor is powerful, and this word is powerful. It was shared with me with a new member of our community, Chaplain Leisha Kitts, who was sharing a story with me of a trip to Mexico she took to celebrate her recovery from really significant health challenges. And the waiter in the restaurant she was sitting in shared with her the meaning of this word. And she shared it with me. And it was one of those beautiful moments where, sometimes when I'm being the minister, you all are ministering to me. So thank you, Chaplain Alicia Kitts, because that truly ministered to me in that moment. The reminder that it is when we are tapped in to our power that we become unstoppable. It is when we are tapped into that absolute divine nature that we become the power and the presence of God, Spirit, the divine, Goddess, Mother, Father, God, whatever you choose to call it, Allah. But when we are tapped into our Querencia, when we have found that sweet spot in ourselves, that is when we become the power that we are inherently in our beings. And I loved this idea that even in the midst of a fight, even in the midst of wounding, we can find this place. We can tap into our divine power. And I thought, man, that needs to be my main practice right now. I mean, wouldn't you agree that right now, in the middle of the craziness of life itself, in the middle of the chaos and the insanity in the societies we live in, that we need to fight for our Querencia, that we need to make it our deepest, most profound commitment to be centered in that place of power. And we can. And we can. And so I just want us to just take a moment and remember right here. I just want you to take a moment and remember. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Put your hand on your heart, your belly, wherever you find that place of centeredness. And remember the truth of who you are. And that this place, this centeredness, this Querencia is always available. I wanted to share with you this quote from Dr. Gary Simmons, who is a Unity minister and wrote this great book called The Eye of the Storm, which is where this is coming from. He says, the integration of our spirituality with our human condition is the remedy for a troubled world. And we have yet to discover the tremendous, awesome power of the presence of God at our center, at the center of every life experience. And there's a few things in this I want to point out. So when we look around us and we look at the conditions of the world, I know many of us can say, WTF, like how did we get here? How have we created this? What is that? What is going on? What went wrong? And Gary Simmons said in that piece of his book, we have yet to discover the power and the presence at our center and the center of every life experience. And I believe that's exactly how we got here, because we have yet to discover the power that we each contain in our own beings. And the power that exists when we are standing in our Querencia, when we are in that place of power of absolute unshakability, and we are in that space individually, and we come together collectively with that power, in that power, all things are possible. But it must begin with us staying committed and connected and in communion with the truth of who we are. And then we come together in that. We link arms in that. We become like those 500 moms in Portland. Anything becomes possible when we are centered in that place of grace. And I mean not just some of us, all of us. You have that center power. You have that location in you where God lives, where the very power of the entire universe can be harnessed. He goes on to say in the eye of the storm, your spiritual identity or individuality is the energy of authentic being and conscious doing. I'm going to say that again. Your spiritual identity or individuality is the energy of authentic being and conscious doing. Your personality and the illusion of separation are an effect of conditioned being and unconscious doing. And all of that, for me, translates to say, when we are not centered in our Querencia, when we are not grounded in the ground of God itself in our own being, we are now inauthentic and unconscious in our doing. And it means we are creating the mess we find ourselves in. I know. What do you mean I'm creating this chaos? I mean that when we are uncentered, ungrounded, when we are outside of our Querencia, we are now contributing to the mess, you and I. Because it means that we are unconscious of what we actually are. It means that we are now fallen into the habits and the patterns of conditioning. You know, and in Science of Mind, founded by Ernest Holmes, there's this idea that the external, the manifest, the physical life we share together is the condition. And first is the inspiration, the consciousness that has to come in order for the condition to appear. So conditioning means that we are allowing what is outside of us determine who we are. We are allowing the conditions of the world, of our communities, of our relationships, of our families, of institutional racism, of all the phobias and all the isms. We allow those things to define us, to determine our choices, our steps. That is conditioning. But when we are in our Querencia, when we are in our power, when we are centered in our divine nature, which each of us have. Each of us has a divine nature, regardless of our conditioning. So when we are in that space that is greater than anything we could be impacted by, we are unstoppable. What I have determined is that Querencia equals badassery. That's right. Standing in the center of who we are makes us badasses. That's what's true. And when we are standing outside of our center, when we have lost our ground, the very ground of our own being, we become inauthentic, unconscious contributors to mess. And I want you to know that there is a way to continually choose badassery. And the way that we do that is we commit ourselves to finding and locating here in our own beings sanctuary. That place in us that is undisturbable. That place in your own being that cannot be shaken by condition. We must find our internal Querencia. And one of the ways that I know that becomes easier and more accessible is to locate the external Querencias. Where in the manifest world do you feel safe and enlivened and reminded of who and what you actually are? And I want to share one of mine with you. And thank you to Jordana, our video goddess, because last night I was out in my yard at sunset, tending to the garden. And I just was in awe of what life was doing with the light in the trees and the coming storm. And it was one of those moments where I literally, out by myself in the yard, was like, oof, wow, wow. And as I was looking around me at this absolute gorgeousness, at this wonder that seemed impossible, that this light could even be shining colors that I had no names for. And then my next thought was, oh, I'm related to this. Like, these are my peoples. This light are my relationships. The way the light is dancing through those trees is the same way that spirit dances through me. And in that moment, I knew who I was and what I was made of. And it brought me into that inside location of Querencia. By standing in this incredible moment of awe, of spirit in action, of life doing what life does, I was reminded, I was brought back to my home while I was in my home, standing in my own yard, which is one of my external Querencias. So think about that right now. Think about the places in your life, the actual physical places that not only bring you joy or help you feel peace, but the places that remind you that you are a walking emanation of the One. Think about the people in your life that remind you, that reflect to you, that are a mirror for you of the truth of who you are. The absolute badass that you are. And I also want to acknowledge that there are times in our lives where we don't feel like we have those things. There are times in our lives where we feel like our relationships are not quite mirroring what we would like them to mirror. They're not quite feeling like the, oof, oh my God, amazing that we desire. And I want to acknowledge that not all of us have a sanctuary at home. But here is what I offer. You deserve to have both. And what I am going to know for you and what I invite you to know for yourself right here is those reflections, those external places of Querencia, of safety, of sanctuary, are yours now. And may you look around you today and locate those and reach out to those folks and begin to allow Spirit to move into your life in a way that provides you more sanctuary, more badassery surrounding you. And one of the other pieces I learned in my reading of Querencia is that by the mid-1500s, the word reincorporated some of its Latin heritage and came to mean a tendency or longing to return to the place where one was brought up, a homing instinct. And I want to share a story with one of the folks in the community that were sharing about this word. He was sharing about his mother towards the end of her life. He said, "It's amazing how strong the homing instinct can be. During my mother's last hospitalization, she kept insisting that she needed to go home. One night, the ICU nurses looked up and realized her monitor had gone dark. Panic-stricken, they rushed toward her room, only to meet her at the doorway. She'd neatly removed her own IVs, taken off her monitoring devices, grabbed her Werther's butterscotch candy, and was making tracks. And when they said, 'What in the world are you doing?' she said, 'I'm going home.' And she would have made it even farther had it not been for the catheter." I can see my mother. If you know Nancy, I can see my mom, but right in that doorway with a handful of candy, heading home. And I've been thinking a lot about the connection between querer, to desire, and querencia, sanctuary, that feeling of home. And so as you locate those places of querencia inside and outside you this week, I want you to really go beneath that longing that many of us have right now, that desire many of us have to go back to what used to be, to go back to those old places that may not even exist anymore, to go back to the past where things were simpler and easier, and go beneath that longing, that homing instinct to your true home. I invite you to connect to that longing, to sink into that homing instinct and let it take you to the very ground of your original self. Because that's your true home, your infinite nature, your divinity. That is the ground of being that desire is always wanting to take us to. It's in those moments of awe and inspiration out in the natural world in my very own yard that woke up in me that deep desire to feel my wholeness, my authenticity. That's how those external querencias can function in us, because it answers the desire, the longing for home. But it's not the home that fear tells us home is. It's not the home that all the chaos and crazy out here tells us to go find. It's the home of where we really came from, which is spirit, which is the infinite, which was the beginning of all that ever existed. That is where we get back to. And that, my friends, is what makes us badass. And I want to share one last piece of the background of this word querencia. And one of the researchers who did a deep dive in all of the meanings of the word and all the different places the word shows up, he said that based on one of the primary modern meanings of querer, querencia can also be simply and most generically the action of loving. I don't know about you, but that is the call of this time. let us each say yes to our badassery and to being the action of love. Capital L, love. So if you're ready to say yes to that with me, I'm going to invite you right now to join me in prayer. And breathing in to that sweet spot in the center of our being, and allowing that very center of our being to open our hearts, to uplift us, to ground us into the all, the infinite, the greatest power in the universe and beyond. And knowing that that inner Querencia is our Querencia. It is the very same space that Spirit has made for all of us to stay connected and grounded in truth, to stay connected and grounded in all that is possible when we are powerful. Because when I am powerful, we are powerful. When I am powerful and you are powerful and know exactly who and what we are, and come together in that truth, all things change. All conditions that feel like suffering simply dissipate under the power and the presence of love. So I know that each of us right now is saying yes to being the action of love, is saying yes to allowing the action of love to work in our lives, in our bodies, in our interactions, in our eyes, so that we may see it more clearly. And I know because we say yes that it is already so. Because Spirit always says yes back, without fail. So I just want to anchor that in my deep gratitude for the action of love that each of you are, that we are together. And I release this out into that beautiful law that always is in motion. And let's anchor this together by saying, amen, and so it is.
Living in grace. Indeed we are. I'd like to acknowledge some of our viewers out there, especially the ones on Facebook. Brenda says, I feel safe in this spiritual community. Stephen says he feels safe at home with his cat. Maddie says her friends and her home are her Querencia. And Molly says, such community, such love in action. While Vanessa says, yes to love. Yes to love indeed. Thank you all for joining us. Please keep watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, and get connected online by going and visiting our website, ABQCSL.org. If you're new here, please remember that there's a link that you can follow to become more engaged. It's in the description of your feed. You can also go to abqcsl.org to get more information. And if you're looking for prayer, you can go to the website, abqcsl.org, or you can email us prayer@abqcsl.org, and the practitioners here will hold you in prayer and reach out to you if you request for a deeper exploration of what's on your mind and in your heart. A few final announcements. You saw Mary mention our relationship with the Inez Elementary School and some of the things we're doing with them as part of our community. You can find more information about that on our Facebook page or also by going to our website. You can get connected by emailing us and getting on our newsletter feed so that we will email you a weekly newsletter where you can get all the information updated every week. Now let's say our final affirmation together. No spirit, no peace. No spirit, no peace. Blessings to you all. I love you so much.
We are living